I'm not trying to say it on your behalf, Lars, but you hate drifters.
Full disclosure at the beginning, drifting is one of the few I've not had a chance to actively partake in. I find drifting to be like the figure skating of motorsport. It's literally the only one I can think of. And you tell me if I'm wrong on this. That doesn't really care about performance. It's entirely about style. What if we don't go point A to point B the fastest? We just look cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of it being just about style, I think there's obviously performance elements to drifting.
I think there's a ton of performance that goes into drifting.
But it's just to make them look cooler.
No. No, those guys are going for specific numbers and they matter.
Welcome back to the MartiniWorks Podcast. We have a guest today, which is really, really exciting.
It's me.
Season 1, episode 55 by now, it feels like. Who are you?
I am Lars.
And what do you do here, Lars?
I need to hold this closer.
Use your
right
podcast voice.
Yeah.
Podcast voice. Got it.
We got Lars here. If you guys don't know who Larsy Poo is, Lars is like our version of the Stig. He drives a lot, both in real world and figuratively imagination land, also known as sim racing.
Oh, okay. I was like, what the fuck are you
And of course, that means that we have him on the old podcast, the old potty, to talk a little bit about his racing experience and how he hates drifting.
What'd you do with Joe's?
Yeah, where is Gels?
What'd you do with him?
What did I do with him?
Yeah.
I sent him to Utah.
I haven't heard from him. I haven't seen him.
He's actually just migrated. He went on the Oregon Trail and he's not coming back.
He likes drifting, so we got rid of him.
Yeah. By the way, if you guys haven't yet, be sure to subscribe. And if you're listening to this on Apple Music or Spotify or anything like that, just be sure to rate it a 5-star. It means the whole world. And a huge thank you to Andrew P. He actually got us our first wheel, tire, and suspension sale.
Let's go.
All at once.
All at once on MartiniWorks.com. We worked with him through the little chat bot that we have, kind of answered some questions, got everything figured out. So if you're looking for something for your car and you don't see it on the website, just shoot us a message. And if you are looking to mod your car,
Mod your car at MartiniWorks.
there you go. Hell yeah. Appreciate the support. Let's jump into it. So since we have a new guest, I feel like we got to start the conversation off with Lars. What's your history?
What do you drive?
Tell us what you drive, and then tell us a little bit about yourself. Where'd you come from? What'd you do?
Sure. Yeah. So I drive a 2020 BMW M2 competition.
Nice.
Had that for a while now. I love that car. I've beat the hell out of it every chance I get. Ever since I bought it, really, and it just keeps going. So I absolutely love that car. And then just a couple weeks ago, actually, I picked up an E46 M3, which was my childhood dream car.
Do your thing. What do your thing? What?
Yeah, that one.
Zombie,
Oh, sure. Okay.
Yep.
It took
Why
me a
am
second
I
to get
rocking
the
down
reference.
Martin Luther King Drive? Bowing down, looking down. Isn't that Most Wanted soundtrack?
I don't remember this.
I was trying to think of the Nine Thou song where it's like, I don't
know. The Most Wanted soundtrack was a lot more rock.
There was a lot of rock in there.
Rap.
Yeah, 2005.
Like it was like
baby.
Avenged Sevenfold and stuff. That's what stuck out to
Disturbed
me.
was in
Disturbed,
there.
yeah. And yeah, I can't remember the song you're.
I'm trying. See, they all kind of sound the same, and I don't know enough about the song to sing it to you, so it's just a mumble rap. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah. Back to the story.
New M3. Well, new to you, M3.
New to me, M3. That one's a little more, aged, I will say. So it's been fun to drive them back to back and kind of experience the difference. But
Like a fine wine.
like a rusty old wine.
It's rusty.
It's not that rusty. It's a little rusty. It's 20 years old.
Where's the rust?
Just a little spot on the fender.
Oh,
But it's
that's
fine.
not-
It'll be a track car
and
anyway.
there's some, there's more.
story of my life, bro.
No. But anyway, that car is my dream car because I grew up in Germany originally, and on the Autobahn, one of those just like zoomed by us, made a bunch of noise. It was driving. Well, there's no speed limit there, so it was perfectly legal actually. But he was driving very quickly, and I thought, my little kid mind, 5-6 years old, I was like, that's the fastest car in the world.
Yeah.
Period.
Right.
And that's what started my whole love with BMWs. So I've owned 7 BMWs now.
Wow.
Just down to the 2 M's now.
That's a wild story.
That's insane, man.
I can't say I've ever been on the Autobahn, but I've driven on some roads here like I have been.
Like Beaver Tucky.
Not if the police were wondering, though. I did not do that.
So you've owned you have the M2 Comp, you've got the M3, you had a 335,
I had a 335.
and then you also had a baby blue BMW, right?
Yeah, I had a 330, so the E90 330, the one with the N52, the non-turbo version, and then that was supposed to be the reliable car, and then when that broke, I was like, screw that, I'm buying an unreliable
If
car.
your parents ever tell you that you should stop playing video games because the people on the internet aren't real and they're not real people. That's false, because Lars and I became best friends through video games, through a car club, where we just talk shit on League of Legends. And then I was like, maybe we could talk shit to each other in real life. And then Lars just kept coming up every single weekend to hang out. And now we're here.
Pretty much.
Like 8 years later.
Beautiful.
9 years later?
9, almost, yeah.
Yeah, 9 years later.
Brings a tear to my eye.
Yeah, so
beautiful.
Let's ask the real hard questions here.
Cool.
The real hard questions. Do you think you only owning BMWs like puts the blinders on in terms of
why haven't you got anything else?
Why haven't you tried owning a clapped S2000 or Nissan? You know what I'm saying?
So
he hates them.
It's a good question, right? And honestly, a lot of it is just the passion of BMW. Growing up in Bavaria, as a kid and stuff. There's a lot of I don't brand loyalty has a bad rep to it, but I think there's a little bit of brand loyalty in terms of there's so many BMWs to experience right now. So the reason I went old school, right, an E46 was because I've had an E36 M3, loved it, sold it a day after I got it running, but loved it.
Yeah.
Did you not hear that story?
Well, how much could you love it if you sold it the day after you got it running?
I bought the car actually clapped. Like that one was really bad. It was rusty. It was not running properly. It was overheating a lot and stuff. But that's just how those cars go. And then I was going through some stuff, a lot of personal stuff going on. So I fixed it to sell it. But driving around the block that one time, I was like, I will own another one. Those cars are amazing.
Kind of reminds me of the old Z.
Man, I'm just going through a roller coaster of emotions right now. It's just sad story, happy story, sad story, happy story. But yeah, I agree with Alex. I think there is a point of brand loyalty and you buy something because you know it's going to be good. But how can you know how good it is if you haven't been on the other flip side of it? Do you have any plans of picking up something besides a BMW?
Yeah, I mean, there's the obvious Porsche. I want to get into Porsche.
More German.
More German.
I mean, he doesn't really want to expand outside of the border. France is scary. The Italians, everything's too warm over there. Nothing east really makes a whole lot of sense.
To me, the German cars just make a lot of sense, I guess. And to be fair, a lot of my friend group owns other types of cars. So I've driven a lot of American cars. I've driven a ton of JDM cars now. And they all have their own flavor. I totally get it.
Yeah.
But for me, something that I can drive every day, something I can beat up on a track, something I can road trip to Tennessee and then beat up down there also and drive it back. Like, they just make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, you do a lot of track driving. How many times have you taken the M2 to Road America now?
The M2's been, I stopped counting at 40, but over 3 years, it's been to 40 track events.
Holy cow.
That's not counting drag racing or autocross or road trips or any rallies or anything like that. I've just track days.
How has the car held up to that?
Literally zero issues. Zero mechanical faults in any of that time. And all I've done is oil changes.
Really, the only issues that you've had is when you have gone and modified it.
Yeah.
Like when you've put things on it and then sometimes they come off and you're like, well, I'm just not going to put them back on because it was better when I didn't have to.
Oh, wait, what happened with that? What was that story?
So the car went to SEMA last year with the Adro, the full carbon kit.
It looks sick.
The front carbon intake pieces just are like two-sided taped on.
Yeah.
And they always had like issues staying on, but I just just stuck them back on. Well, at a show I went to, Utterly Euro in Nina over here, on the way home from that, one just finally fell off and I ran it over. So I had to order new ones and I just never put them back on because, again, I drive the car too much. I don't want another one to fall off. Yeah. So at the shows, I'll put them back on. But
Gotcha.
It kind of, the whole conversation, though, about the fact that you went back and you bought an M3, right? You bought an E46 M3 because you like it. And then Dakota and I went and we dropped off that HKS exhaust. We didn't drop it off in a new fancy car. We didn't drop it off in the Jeep. We decided to go, haul the homies in the 1996 Nissan Gloria because we just like driving that. You've got the 20th anniversary. Right?
Fuck no.
I'm just kidding. You got the old Volkswagen though that you really like enjoying. Like, why does it seem, even when we could go newer, that when we want to get into a car, sometimes we like the older stuff, the more analog experience?
Yeah, like I thought this was interesting to talk about because we've recently picked up a lot of new cars between the M2, the Z, the Supra, but I keep gravitating towards these older cars. Now you just picked up the M3.
Yeah.
What is it? Why? Like, these new cars have all the tech, all the horsepower, everything, but somehow we keep is it straight up nostalgia? Is that it? Is it just nostalgic or is it like actually better for some things.
I just don't think it, like for me personally, I think the way that I lean back on some of the older stuff is when you get into building your cars, a lot of times I feel like there's two main ways you go about it. At least for me, it was like either we'll want to build something fast as hell, or I want to build something that is really like unique and different and isn't something somebody else is doing. And then you start doing, you start accomplishing those two-ish tasks, right? You get a fast car, you build a fast car, you build something that's a little unique and a little different. And then like the mental checklist kind of starts getting checked off, where all of a sudden now it's like, well, I don't want something that's insanely fast, and I don't really need something that's extremely unique. Maybe I just want to do something for me. And then you lean back on the cars that maybe influenced you when you were 14, 15, 16. My first car was a 1989 Mercedes-Benz 300 SEL. It was like baby blue, had a dark blue interior. And ever since I had that car, I've loved Mercedes. Because it was your first car. It doesn't matter if it's a piece of shit or if it's a $30,000. You love your first car.
Some type of connection to
it. You do, because of like the freedom it represents. It's like
it's
you
a happy
being...
memory.
Yes. And so now I look back, and we were at lunch today, and I was like, Dakota, what do you think about this? And I showed him a 1972 280 SEL. I was like, should we get it? And then I remember we don't have any space in our garage.
I think for me, like what obviously the E46 was definitely a childhood, dream come true and all that. And they've gotten less attainable over the years, but they are still fairly attainable. But a lot of times, I think as people grow up, there's one of two things. There's nostalgia, like we're talking about. That's pretty common. But the other one is when you have a car you daily, you have a car you enjoy, maybe you have a show car already. It's nice to get something different. And when you buy a second car, it's really a lot more about value. That car doesn't have to run every day. Like you can play with it. It can have some downtime. So what can you get that's fun to play with, that's affordable, and it's not going to be, a pain in the ass to work on all the time. And the M3s, like for me, they fit all that bill, right? And it's going to appreciate in time. So
yeah. What do you think is, I guess, Dakota, what do you think is like, let's say you take it back to a nostalgic kick. Is there a car, a brand, an era that people should gravitate to?
That's tough. That's for each individual person. And I think after I thought about this a little bit, and the reason I've been liking Volkswagen so much after owning, the first car I seen that like changed everything for me was a lowered 20th anniversary black Mark IV GTI. It was like the first stance car I seen in person, and I never seen a car lowered with wheels that are like lined up perfectly with the fenders. And so I never saw that before. And when I saw it, it like triggers. I was like, that looks insane. I absolutely love that. I think that's so cool. And then ever since that day, I've just always loved Mark IVs and I guess Volkswagens at that point. So I've really, like I started doing this build series on the Jetta and working on it, and I've had so much fun. It's almost like reignited my passion for cars. So that's why I want to talk a little bit about that, because I couldn't believe how much I was enjoying this Jetta I've had for over a year now, and I just use it for daily driving. I never did anything. And now it's like, I'm obsessed with it. I love it. I'm ordering parts. I'm putting parts on it like every single day, and I'm cleaning it up and making it nice. And I was like, that's so weird. I have a fucking 2020 Toyota Supra here. Yeah. And here I am spending hours and hours and hours on this fucking Jetta I picked up for $3,000. And then too, like you said, the conversation with the Gloria while we were driving, we're like, out of all the cars you own, which one do you think's your favorite? And you said the Gloria. And I agreed with you. There's something charming about it. And I think that's it. There's a charm to these older cars that the newer cars can't replicate. And even though it's more analog and it doesn't have every feature and it's definitely not as quick, right? It's a different driving experience.
Yeah, it's weird how, I think charm is a really good way to put it, but there's cars that just speak to you in a little bit of an interesting way. I think they almost align with your personality a little bit, or they're like a piece of like an escape almost from the rat race of building cars or of driving cars, because we're in the content creation space, right? So we're trying to constantly create content around cars. So it's always, hey, what can we do? What can we do? Well, let's not do the same thing 9 million other people have done. Let's try to do something different. So you're trying to bring something new to the fold. And it's this pressure of commitment with builds that I think sometimes takes your passion and like almost pivots it, a little bit. And then you get a Jetta or a GTI, or you get an E46, or you get a Gloria, and you're like, wait a minute, I just really like this car for what it is and what it does.
And I think what you find in a lot of content creators is they naturally gravitate towards those older cars because there's a lot of pressure to work and show content on new things because that's cool. It's like the hype thing to do. But then you see a lot of them have side projects, which is what they're really passionate about, right?
Right.
So like, I think that's what the glory, even the S2000, can be because you have the Ferrari, which is obviously the cool one that gets all the attention. But it's really hard to spend a lot of time in that car for one reason or another, right? Like driving it is fun, super fun, obviously, right? But you can't drive it that much, or something might happen to it, and it's expensive and all this stuff. So
yeah,
S2000 on the other hand, every time any of us have driven that, we beat the hell out of it.
Yeah,
and it's the point. It's like it's fun, and if something happens, like that's just part of the fun.
Exactly. Yeah, there's different cars for I guess different purposes. I think. If I could go back and tell anybody that's maybe trying to find a car that that you want to use to fall back in love with the car scene or maybe the modification community, I would say find something that has or had a ton of support at one time and maybe doesn't have as much of that like front end presence as it used to. For me personally, I don't see a huge, massive audience around Volkswagens anymore. I don't. Like when I go on TikTok, for instance, the cars that I see are FRS, BRZ, Miata, S2000,
Ferrari F430.
No,
I hear you. I agree.
But when I was 16 or 17, I couldn't go anywhere on Facebook without seeing Volkswagen. Yeah,
the Volkswagen Audi group was like
huge,
the biggest.
It was everything. It was.
They really took over like the car show scene too.
Volkswagen Vortex and like those channels and like Audi Design and those were the heavy hitters. That's what Rotoform wouldn't be Rotoform
without Volkswagen. Yeah,
without VW Vortex and all those forums because that's where they sold all their wheels. That's the only place you could sell them at the time. So,
and I think that the good news there is that if you want to jump into those old markets, a lot of those people are still around. A lot of those diehard people who made content back in the day still have their cars, and they're happy to share that because it reminds them of the fun they had back in the day.
Yeah, Brian Skoda is probably one of my favorite people to watch on Instagram because he's got like a smaller-ish, not a small following. He's got a big following, but like the content he posts is very inconsistent. He just posts when he wants to, just random stuff. But there's always a fucking Volkswagen in his story posts. Like he could be like, nice day in Cali, and then in the corner
there's a Volkswagen.
There's a Harlequin over there just hiding.
Because, dude, the Volkswagen community, there's something else. You see everything in the spectrum of a car enthusiast too. You see the people that are literally going to Home Depot and self-tapping gutters onto their side skirts. And then you see the people that have literally taken everything out of their car by hand and replaced every single nut and bolt and built a car for 20 years in their garage. Yeah. And it's just like a Mark IV, or a Mark III or something like that. Like it's such a wide spectrum. It's really interesting. But to take it back a little bit to like us talking about owning these older cars and enjoying them, what I would say is I think it's really easy as a car enthusiast, especially someone that watches content and consumes content in the automotive space, to always want that next best thing. But as I've kept getting bigger, more expensive cars as I've gotten older, I've learned to just appreciate the ones that I did have. So don't worry about the next car. It'll 100% come. Yep. Really enjoy what you have and take time to enjoy that platform and learn about it. Yeah. Because I guarantee the moment you sell it, you're going to fucking miss it. And you're going to want another one again one day.
That's the one thing for me, at least, is like I'm always trying to think of the next thing. So it's hard for me to appreciate like what's going on in the moment with the cars that we have and things like that. And I found a lot of maybe like grace in setting goals for yourself to then go and start looking for that thing. So I talked about it before. It's like, I want to hit 500,000 subscribers, and then I want to go find my 911, like a 993, a 964, preferably a 993. Because that's like, for me, that's a keeper car. That's a car that'll never leave the garage, so to speak. But it's like, if I think about that now, it's so unfair to all the cool stuff that this car can be, all the cool experiences the Gloria can be or the Z can be. And, it's like, you just want more. And I think that's unhealthy. But that's just how I'm built sometimes. So I have to like set these little walls in front of me to be like, no, don't, not yet, later, think about it later. So helps a little bit at least. But
I totally agree. That same sentiment is again, the M3 helps with that because I daily drive the M2 through Wisconsin winters for the last 3 years now, like the whole time, to the track and back, the whole thing. So I've definitely gotten a little complacent with what that car is.
Right.
But what it represents is a really big deal to me still. And it's nice to relearn to appreciate that car for what it is. So
Yeah.
I think the old cars also help with that, because while I love driving both, getting out of the M3 back into the M2, it's so nice.
I was going to ask, I was curious how they compared. Like, is there some similarities, or do they feel just completely different?
Yeah, not to be like full, BMW M nerd about it, right? But like M's have a certain feel to them where you can drive them slow and they're just, relatively normal. And then you get into them, you drop a gear, you really get up there in RPMs and they like wake up.
Yeah.
So in that way, they're very, very similar. But, in every other way, like it's a little cramped. It's obviously significantly slower. There's no turbos in there and stuff like
Right.
that. The sound system is just better in the M2. Obviously, it's quieter generally. Well, until my exhaust opens up.
Yeah.
So they're similar in driving style, but the actual execution of it is shockingly different. And the more I told Alex this yesterday, I need to go find a place. Hopefully, it's track day in a couple of weeks where I can go really beat on the M3 to really learn it more, because it is hard to actually get into it around town without being illegal, very illegal.
Right.
Well, with that being said, I do want to say a very special thanks to our very first official tire partner for the MartiniWorks podcast, Continental Tires. So Continental Tire, if you guys and gals don't know, they've been absolute fantastic partners to us over the years. Josh Peeler, I'm going to continue to shout him out until the cows come home, but Continental Tire is a fantastic option for you guys if you're looking for a tire for pretty much any type of purpose or use. So whether you need a performance tire like the Extreme Contact 02, whether you need something that's a little bit more on the street and maybe a little bit of track use, you got the DWS 06 Plus. When it's the winter time, right? You've got the
Viking Contact 7s, baby.
Viking Contact 7s that Dakota is gonna die over. He's also got his arm still tattooed. That's a little bit of a weird one.
Those. Lars, you're gonna be trying the Extreme Contact Sport 02s, right?
Yep, we're putting Extreme Contact 02s on the M2 for a track day in a couple weeks, actually.
Yeah,
awesome.
So we'll really get to beat them up there.
Yeah, I really want to hear your feedback on them, because I've really enjoyed them, but I haven't been to Road America 50 times. So I feel like Lars might have more input than what I do.
No, so it does mean a lot to have Continental on board, because if, as you guys and gals know, for us to really get behind the wheel and use the cars for their intended purpose, to give you unbiased feedback on wheels, on tires, on suspension, on performance parts, we need partners to do that. We need places like US Air. Mike, thank you so much for that. We need to be able to go to places like Road America, but to get the cars moving, we need tires. And you go through tires quickly when you are trying to test every other part of a car. So we're super appreciative for Continental being on board. So thank you for being the official tire partner of the MartiniWorks podcast. With that being said, let's take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about a couple more bits and pieces about cars. Speaking of cars, when we get into motorsport, there is what I would call like a proverbial playground with clicks on the playground.
100%.
There are. You got like the car show people that are drawing within the lines with their crayons, just having a good time.
You could argue about them being.
They're trying their best. Some of them are using chalk. They don't want to use paper.
Some of them use the what's the non-Crayola brand crayons?
Yeah. I know.
Like rep crayons.
Yeah,
you know,
rep
Rose Art.
Yeah.
Either way, they're eating them when they're done.
Yeah. Then you've got the autocross folks out there in the world that found the one hill in the back next to the football field, and they're just running up, pushing everybody off of the hill, then rolling down the hill as fast as they can. But the hill is owned by one of the 20 people trying to climb it.
Yeah.
Then you've got the track people. And the track people are like the sophisticated folks talking about, how many carbs they ate during lunch practice.
They're like the study groups, like the people that would host study groups.
Yeah, they're sitting in the shade doing their homework, trying to get ahead of it so that they don't have
They're definitely the nerds of the group.
Yeah, and then you've got the drifters, the ones that probably are putting the gum underneath like the handlebars.
Kids.
Yeah, they got the gum underneath the handlebars. They're putting it there for like Rosie to grab and then fall, and they make fun of her. In real life, there's a little bit of that in the realm of it. And I'm not trying to say it on your behalf, Lars, but you hate drifters. I'm just kidding.
Hate is a big word.
I'm kidding.
I will say I have some strong opinions about
say,
drifting, and I'm sure we'll get to that in a second here.
Yeah, I do want to hear it. I'm curious because obviously big into track in your car, so I thought there'd be some sort of appreciation, mutual understanding, respect. But drifting, Lars, what's your thoughts on drifting? The raw feels. Give me them.
it's interesting, right? Because obviously I've done a lot of motorsports, and I will say, right, full disclosure at the beginning, drifting is one of the few I've not had a chance to actively partake in.
Okay.
So I've done autocross, drag racing, a lot of rallies and so on, track days, in many numbers, but not drifting yet. So, but that being said, I find drifting to be like the figure skating of motorsport. And the reason I say that is because it's the only one. It's literally the only one I can think of. And you tell me if I'm wrong on this. That doesn't really care about performance. It's entirely about style. And that to me, like the moment the second car was built, they were racing those things immediately, right? And that's what motorsport is, to me at least. And drifting just like throws that on its head and is like, no, what if we slide them? What if we don't go point A to point B the fastest? We just look cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of it being just about style, like I think there's obviously performance elements to drifting.
I think there's a ton.
Yeah.
I think there's a ton of performance that goes into drifting.
But it's just to make them look cooler.
No. No, those guys are going for specific numbers and they matter. And you, like, if you just go out there with a bone stock car compared to a modified car, it's going to be ass compared to a modified. Like, the modifications have purpose, not just
like an angle kit.
But yeah, that's fair. But you need that because when you're sliding at that speed, that makes sense. But like horsepower doesn't matter. You get to a certain point, whether you have 800 or 1200, irrelevant.
Well, maybe at that point, but
Yeah.
I would say from like the 200 horsepower cars to the 800 and the different types of tracks you go on, 100% matters.
I think it's been an interesting thing to watch because I've had, I would argue, questionable experiences like on both sides of that spectrum, both on the track side and on the drift side. I remember one of the very first times I had actually met a BMW club guy at Road America. I was literally going up to him. I'm like, hey man, how's it going? I'm Alex Martinez. Nice to meet you. And he looks me dead in the eyes. He goes, you had an interesting driving line out there.
That's Lars.
And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I went to say hi. I'm not looking to have no idea who this person is.
Yeah.
No idea what sort of credentials this guy has. Never met the dude in my entire life, and it immediately put me off of that person, that club, that group. And I was like, all right, well, fuck that guy. I'm gonna go on my merry way and do something else. Had a lot of other people at the track that were super nice, super helpful. At the drift day, my very first drift day, a lot of awesome, fantastic people. A lot of people that were like, hey, if you need anything, let me know.
Well, yeah, because they're just out there to look pretty.
But at the same time, there's also a very specific group of people that saw me there and were like, like, why does he have to be here? We don't need more attention on our sport for like.
And I think
it was like a general. You're not in this hierarchy of people, so we don't want you here.
And I think that's kind of a big difference between the two activities in my experience. You show up to a track day, and it's effectively a driving school, right? That's what they call it. Is that you're actually a student there, and you show up, and you're absolutely in one way or another you're judged by your skill, right? And how fast you go around the track, and a lot of that's based on experience and driver mod and all that stuff. But it's a lot less about the car or what you're doing. It's just like how you're doing it. In drifting, there's this like huge barrier of entry where like I tried to sign up for a drifting event this year. And then I found out afterwards when I didn't make the sign up, you have to like set a reminder to do it within an hour of them opening because they sell it like same day. And I was like, I just want to pay you guys money to go play. Like, I just want to go have fun with you guys. And then you get there and there's like all these rules and stuff involved. And none of them are about safety. It's all just about like respect and earning your place there. And it's like, I pay just as much money as you. Like I just want to go have fun.
Yeah, I think there's a conversation that Lars and I had once a little bit about this, where there is more of like a social hierarchy in at least our local grassroots drifting area, which is not a bad thing. It's not a great thing. It's just a thing. And sometimes that can be a little bit of a problem. I've had this conversation with people that live out in California and Texas and Florida, and they all kind of say the same thing, which is there is a social hierarchy because it's more of a community in drifting than it is if you were to go to Road America. Like literally when you go into Road America and you go to park your car in one of the grass aisles and there's 70 of those aisles, and then you go slightly up the hill and there's 20 goddamn acres of asphalt that you can also park your car if you want to. you're not ever running into anyone pretty much ever. Like you have to go out of your way to go find these people that are running at the same day as you. Whereas in drifting, especially at like US Air, you're like this close to them.
Hi.
Yep.
So you're like, hey dude, how's
I
it
don't
going?
know. In my experience, like going and hanging out at the drift events, I wasn't drifting myself, so maybe that makes the difference. But I don't know. It seemed like everyone was just as welcoming as like when I autocrossed my car, went to the drag strip, and was willing to teach, learn, offer a ride along, any of that stuff. So in my experience, they're very equal.
The ride along piece I think is phenomenal. I think that's the coolest. I've done a bunch of ride alongs with Alex and other drifters. I rode around with what was his name?
Corey?
Mike? Chelsea Genova at SEMA.
Oh yeah, what's his name?
What's his name?
Chelsea Genova. I rode with him or something.
Yeah. And like had an amazing time. Like the ride alongs I think are awesome for the sport as a whole. But I think that's a little different than, again, just my experience of trying to get into this activity. It's just difficult. Like people look at me funny.
Is it socially difficult? Is that the hiccup that you have with it?
I think so. I had the same experience with autocross, for the record. And I'll give you the baseline of track days, which is why I became addicted to them. When you show up to a track day, and granted, it's a lot more expensive, right? But once you have a car like that, like and the money to be able to do it, you literally show up and you get an instructor, and it's a one-on-one deal the entire day. Like this man or woman is like on your side, in your car with you. They got your back, and anything you need, you just go to them. And then when you're not on the track, when your instructor's out playing on the track on their time, you're in a classroom. And I get that that's a lot for a lot of people, right? You don't want to spend that much time learning. You just want to go drive. But it creates this atmosphere of like I always know what I'm supposed to be doing,
right?
And it's all about safety and making sure that at those speeds I'm not going to hurt myself, my instructor, or the people around me. At autocross and drifting events, that does not exist. I have to be friends with somebody in order to even know where to go at what time and what to do and what I need on my car. What does tech inspection look like? None of those things are explained.
That's an interesting.
That's a good
take.
point.
And I could see that. The only thing I would say to argue that, and it's not much of an argument, but like, because you're right. When I've gone to autocross events and stuff like that, it's kind of like you have no idea what's going on or where to go or anything. Yeah. But people were so welcoming that like I literally had people that could tell I had no fucking clue what I was doing, and they're like, yo, come with me, we're gonna go walk the track together, I'm gonna explain what's going on. And you like almost just make friends automatically just by being there because you have a common interest. So I'd say yes, you do have a point. But at the same time, I don't know, I've had such good experiences with the community, and I was so nervous before I went. Maybe so that's why it seems a lot better. Maybe you were more comfortable because you had so many like track days and stuff that it seemed more regular. But
when I had my first autocross event, I was scared that I was going to have the same experience because for me, it was the other way. I remember I must have been like 17, 18 years old, and the autocross, like, I guess, group of people online were always kind of very like prideful.
Dude, online, that was a nice way to put it out.
That was a very nice way of putting it.
I feel like the autocross guys online talk so much shit.
Yeah, and so I didn't like that part of that group, and so I decided to go do one, Chippewa Valley Technical Car Club, something like that. I don't remember what it was.
CTT?
C is like CVSTCC. I mean, it was an acronym, bro.
They're
Like you
acronyms.
could not put that shit on a windshield without taking up a fender. And I went out there with my B7A4, ran a couple laps, and I was almost gonna have an experience like yours, which was I didn't know who to talk to. Mm-hmm. I was out there staffing something that I didn't really understand. Nobody gave me a heads up, which I think is, I don't like the fact that you have to staff autocross events, but whatever. And Mike, I think it was Mike Levenik and his girlfriend and or wife at the time, they came up to me, and they were one of the guys on the internet that sometimes is a little bit harsher on the corners. He's like, you want me to do a ride along with you? And I was like, I would absolutely love that. Yeah. And I did 2 ride-alongs. Actually, it was Mike's girlfriend or Mike's wife also gave me a bunch of tips during the auto, and it made my experience at the autocross event a million times better. Yep. If I would not have had that interaction with those 2 people, I would probably be in a similar boat to you to say, I don't know if I really like the vibe of what autocross is. Yeah. Because there's no helper to get you to at least having a baseline of knowing what to do. You show up and they're like, here you go.
Yep. And to be fair, like what you're describing is probably more average experience. I think mine is a little, twisted because, I didn't have a bunch of friends in the area. I had just met Alex, a couple years before that. I wasn't popular. I showed up in a brand new M2 competition, right? So everybody already looked at me a little funny, you know, like daddy's money and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I get that, because I had at autocross, I had the same experience where a friend of a friend had a 2016 M2, and they're like, yeah, just go say hi and see if you can ride along. So I like awkwardly stumbled my way over there, and I was like, hi, I'm new here.
Yeah.
Right. And he was nice about it. He let me ride in there, gave me a couple tips and stuff, but really just showed me what a car is capable of. And it was, I just figured it out from there. But
Sure.
I don't know how that translates to drifting, because the cars are going to be so different from another, and they're so built in some terms. And, you know, sliding it is such a different skill set from anything else.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see how the experience goes, because I'm still going to try drifting. Like, it hasn't scared me off.
I'm glad that you're trying it, even though you've been like more, you know, hesitant to go that realm with your car. I appreciate that you're willing to go give it a go, because I think you'll find a new respect for it, just like anything else. Once you start getting it, and then you figure out a way to almost be competitive with it, you know, with yourself, and getting better, and, you know, linking turn 1 and 2. And then I think that's where it'll really click for you more, is when you can like start making targets and beating them for yourself. Because I mean, that's what racing is too, right? Like you have a lap time that you're shooting for and you're trying to beat. So when you find those things, it's not necessarily a lap time, but there are ways to do more than just style, I would say, in drifting.
I would add to that, in track racing, when you're going through a corner, there's a point where you get it almost perfect, and there's that feeling. You hit the braking zone right, you're going into the turn, the front passenger tire's just clipping right exactly where you want it to be. You cut through that corner, and you come out the other side, you're going 10 miles an hour faster. Your braking zone for the next corner has changed a million different ways, because now you're going through the corner way faster than you thought. But there's a split second when you're on the track, and you look at it, and you're like, that felt beautiful. Right. That felt perfect. In drifting, there is that feeling too, which is you maybe you're clutch kicking, or maybe you pull on the e-brake, you're getting around a corner, you get that initiation, and you kick the ass out of the car out to go around a long sweeper, and you got the speed, you got the car coming out, you got the smoke kind of, you know, bellowing up, and it just feels natural in the chaos of what it is. And I do really like that about drifting, which is, in track, it's a very analytical experience. Sure, you're feeling a lot of things. It's like, I can't remember who said it, but he's like, he was blessed with a really good ass. It was like a Formula One race car driver.
What the fuck?
He was like, I'm a good driver, but I've been blessed with a really good ass, because you feel everything in a race car, and that's how you can kind of move around. Whereas in drifting, you feel a lot. A lot of how you change your driving experience is how things feel as you're turning the steering wheel, as you feel the rear end kick out. And I think that's maybe why it's different for you. And I've been really appreciative of a lot of the people that have helped me. 99% of the people at the local US Air Track, Corey to Alaska, Mike, a lot of that gang have been super helpful with getting me into it. And even people that have no idea who I am have been super helpful with it. But there is more of an element of just figure it out, because they don't know how to technically explain what's going on. Corey to Alaska was the only one so far out of everybody that I've met that's given me a technical reason to do something to drift a car.
Sure.
Yeah, and I get that, right? With all these exercises and so on, a lot of it does come down to seat time. Like, that's what I preach to anybody asking me about track days, for that matter. Just go. Don't worry about building your car. Don't worry about having a specific car. Just sign up and go and be safe. Make sure your brakes are good. Make sure your tires are good. Make sure you're not leaking anything. But go drive. That's how you're going to learn more than anything. So I'm sure it's the same thing in drifting. You know, I guess I wish there was like a little bit of a rookie cheat code for doing this, or like a new guy day or something like that. And in my experience so far, that's just not a thing. Like, it's the same. I don't know how many people show up to US Air event, like 50, 60 drivers maybe.
Yeah.
It's a pretty small group. And like I said, getting in on that is damn near impossible. Like again, it's been all year, and I'm like waiting for a sign up to come through, and it just hasn't.
I think it would be cool, you know, maybe this is, if anybody's watching this that hosts or organizes a drift event, or maybe even an autocross thing, is like build a way for newbies, rookies, first timers to pair up with somebody for the first half of the day. At US Air, the first half of the day is literally just having everybody get their bearings with their car. They shorten up the track, they make it super simple. And even at the beginning, they call it out. They're like, raise your hand if you're a new driver. And, you know, there's always 8 or 9 hands that pop up, right? And it's like, pair those people up with somebody just for like the first half of the day. They don't have to go with them all the time, but maybe somebody that signs up as a volunteer that maybe has a little bit of seat time, maybe they can run the advanced course at US Air, can jump in and be like, here, let me give you some tips. Let me give you some practice.
I think that'd be amazing because like I said, it doesn't take much. It's just somebody, a big bro to hold your hand a little bit and say, come here and do this, because otherwise it gives the perception that they don't want new people. And again, maybe that's the perception that bugs me, but ultimately your sport will die if you don't get new people into it. Like Formula Drift is awesome and it's cool, but how many new drivers are really in there? Like I feel like ever since I've been involved in talking about it, it's been the same handful of drivers. Like I don't know how many rotate in and out and stuff. There's not that many of them. So, if you want people to get to that level and use the amateur level to grow to a competitive level, give them a chance first off.
Yeah, some more technical background. I think drifting is 100% a motorsport. The more time that I spend with it, the more exciting it is to see it evolve. I think just like autocross though, there needs to be an easier way for people to understand the concept of the sport, just like in its entirety. And I don't think there has been a good way of doing it outside of like random content creators like making a YouTube video. Like the only reason I was able to jump out onto the track at US Air and actually spend a little bit of time understanding what I was doing is because I had a gosh darn sim rig upstairs.
Yeah.
I sat on one of those open tracks and I put the car in first gear and I found myself a 220 horsepower Gloria comparison car out on a Assetto Corsa. And I learned how to just drop the clutch, put it in, and just do a little donut. And then, okay, second gear, okay, do a little donut. And then, okay, try to do the little, circle 8 and figure that out. And then it was like, that was the only reason I could. Otherwise, I would have been on the skid pad the whole day, my first track day, trying to figure out how to go in a circle.
Yeah, and we could have a whole podcast about sim racing compared to real racing, because I've did it in reverse, right? I did real stuff first, and now I'm doing sim racing with my own rig and everything. But you can only learn so much. Like, you need to get out there. You need to go drive your car. Mm-hmm. So, a little bit would go really far, I think.
I have one question, and it's bringing it back because I heard you say something, you both agreed, and I was like, well, why? For autocross and having to like man the cones or whatever for part of it, why did both of you're like, I don't like having to do that?
Have you done it?
Yeah.
I'm surprised
you don't mind it?
No, I thought it was to me, when I did it, it made it feel like, oh, like this is a tight-knit community. You all help each other out. You take your turn. Somebody's got to man the cones. This is going to keep costs down because you're having the people that sign up to do it. And then it's kind of like, I don't know, you have each other's back. It made me feel more involved and a part of it. So I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think of it bad. I didn't think of it good. It wasn't like, I was having a fucking blast. It was fun to me, like watching the cars come ripping around and seeing how they were driving. But I didn't think of it either way. But then when you guys mentioned it seemed like you both were like, I don't like this.
So I'll go first on this for two different reasons. Number one, it could just be my experience.
Sure.
But it definitely wasn't a fucking tight knit community when I was out there picking up cones. It was, hey, you're going out there, you're going to pick up cones on turn 5. We'll see you in an hour. And it's like, what? And it's like, yep, go out there. And it's like, well, that's how we keep costs low. And I literally rented the same exact parking lot that they did for a car show. So I knew how much it cost.
Yeah.
And then I went to go check out the cars and how many cars there were and then how much it cost to run the cars. Okay. And I was like, they don't need me out here. They could pay 4 people to do exactly what I'm doing right now. Yeah. So for me, I immediately went into just like, I don't mind doing it, but it's not because it's like a tight-knit community. It came down to just for me being like, well, I just want to get out there and I just want to drive. If I'm sitting out here and there's somebody next to me maybe teaching me a corner or teaching me something about it, maybe it'd be valuable.
Sure.
But I didn't see a whole lot. And if you're already paying $100 or if you're already paying $120, like $50 more and you got yourself a drift day the whole day. I think to me, it just came down to seat time and the experience. Maybe for some people, they're like, yeah, it is a tight-knit community. But
with drifting, there's volunteers out there on the track too.
Yeah, but that's because they want to. It'd be different if they're like, hey, Alex, the tickets are actually going to be $110, but we need you to man the staffing for half the day. And
it's not half the day.
But half...
It is. In my experience, it was.
Yeah,
it was half the day.
It's one
half of the day, really.
It's 2/3. It's 2/3 of the day that you're volunteering typically because you have 3 stints. You got a novice, intermediate, and advanced. Yep. So if you're running in novice, you're manning intermediate and advanced, or alternating between intermediate and advanced, and then usually have a break in between. So you are helping for the same amount, if not more, than driving.
I didn't experience that when I did it.
So for me,
again. Could just be my experience.
Right, yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of this is different with different clubs. And
there's people in the comments right now that are like, these guys must have the worst clubs. No. I'm super appreciative of all the clubs in Wisconsin doing their own thing. Again, my last autocross event was like 4 years ago. That was the last time I ever did it. So
I only did it for one season for these reasons, right? Again, it was, and arguably that my car is too big. I don't want to say too powerful because the internet will hate me, but it's for the little track. We were at the Road America go-kart track, and you know, I could never get traction, so it didn't really feel right anyway. But the big thing for me was similar to Alex, but it came down to seat time. So the go-kart track, in the configuration we had at the time, a lap is not even a minute, right?
Sure.
You go up, do your loop, and you're done. And we got 3 runs per stint, and then we got 2 stints in a day. So that means I'm spending generously 10 minutes on the track, right? And I think the event was $60 or something like that.
Yep.
At a full track day, at Road America, a world-class facility, I'm paying, depending on when you buy, and there's tricks to making this more affordable. Let's say on the high end, $500 for a day, right?
Jesus.
But you're getting 5, generalizing across clubs, you're getting 5 30-minute sessions on the track. And with a lot of them, if you're new, you get an instructor with you all day long, and you can ride along with your instructor if they want you to. So, you could spend, if your car can handle, if you can handle, if you're safe, you're staying hydrated and stuff, you could spend 2.5 hours on the track at Road America, for again, more money.
literally gunning it.
The value, yeah, literally, you're going 150 miles an hour if you got a powerful car. And the value there is just so drastically different. And again, with the workers, the cars are going a lot slower, granted, right? But like the safety isn't always there. We had a friend of ours had an accident at an autocross event, and he's fine, and the workers are fine and everything. But I don't want to expose myself to that. I don't have any training or safety equipment.
Sure.
Nobody told me what to do. They just said, you're going to be moving cones on this corner. I'm like, when do I go on the track? There's cars constantly going at autocross.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so it sounds like a lot of this could be solved by literally just having that like Big Brother or some type of instructions at the beginning of the event.
That's literally the whole thing.
And not just the randomness.
That's the whole thing. That was the greatest part of US Air was when I'd walk up to when I pull up to the start line, I'd look out the corner, the guy that would wave the flag would be looking at me, and I'd wave him down, he'd come over, and I'd say, "Hey, I'm about to go out. I want you to stare my ass down, tell me everything I could be doing wrong. I'll be right back." And I'd go out there and I'd do my thing, and I'd come back, and he'd be like, "Hey, so that corner, don't do that corner. The first corner, that fence right there, it takes everybody when they try to drift it. So just skip that." If I didn't ask him that, I would have been probably in the fence because nobody else told me, "Hey, first corner on US Air is a tricky one. Until you really understand your car, don't try to drift it, because once you slide over the bank, you're going right into the fence, and it's $500 and your car's all mangled and it sucks." Yeah. I think having more of that available, easier to understand right at the beginning, is super important. And track days do it best because track days have to, because they're the most dangerous. I think to drifting and autocross's point, you're in a parking lot or you're at a track, the only thing that you're potentially going to hurt really is yourself. And in an autocross parking lot, you're going quick, you definitely are, but you're more than likely going to spin out. You're not going to flip a car. At Road America, you go around turn 1 at a $140 and all of a sudden your brakes fail. You could die. That's the difference.
And all that is to say, right? I don't want people to listen to this and say autocross sucks or drifting sucks. That's really not the case, right? That's an experience.
That's exactly what Lars said.
That's an experience I had, right? And again, I've tried it all, and I find my vibe with track days, big track days. And I've been lucky enough to go to several tracks now, and it's always been the same experience for me, where they're just immaculate experiences. Now, autocross is always going to be the safer thing to do. I think it's a more entry-level thing to do, right? You should not go buy a $60,000 car and go straight to Road America. That's a terrible idea. But if, whatever car you have today, you can 100% autocross. Anything. Your daily driver, your SUV, your truck, go autocross.
Which we've seen. By the way, shout out to Tom and the Central Wisconsin Sports Car Club, because Tom Hill, those guys do run awesome events. We did an autocross, a winter autocross at Road America with them. Definitely not a whole lot of like track time, but the experience of doing an autocross without any sort of prepped surface, where there was just ice and snow and banks
wild.
everywhere.
Amazing experience.
That was awesome. So as you guys hear, sometimes the criticisms come. It's not in the sense of saying like we don't like it. It's just, for me, I have an opinion and a stance on where I would prefer to spend my time. I would say though, best value that you can get up here for what you do is still drifting.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Dang,
Value.
Lars, his eyebrows went whoop.
Yeah, because for $150 and a set of rear tires, you can go out and you can pretty much drive the whole day at US Air Intermediate without any sort of issue. You don't need a ton of horsepower. You don't need a good car. You really don't need a whole lot of anything.
How many sessions did your tires last?
My Nexen SU1s, two 1540/18s, lasted 45 laps.
How many sessions is that? How many days of track?
Well, that's 45, essentially 45 minutes, because each run was like 45
But how many days? How many times did you go drifting before you had to switch tires?
Once.
Value. How much do those tires
Yeah,
cost?
but they're like fucking $200.
Yeah. I think it's the difference between having to buy maybe pads and tires, to be completely honest.
Oil.
I ran Michelin Sport Cup 2s, connects the
bougie.
again higher entry cost. So this is
Different
not.
tax bracket.
They lasted. I think it was 6 or 7 of the track, and these are super soft tires. For those of you guys that don't know what those are, they're incredibly sticky, very fun, and I did not really know what I was doing yet, so I definitely chewed through them. But they lasted 6 or 7 track events, and again, that is at 2.5 hours of track driving each.
Yeah, but how much is the goddamn track day?
$500.
Yeah,
Not including brake pads, brake fluid, constant checks
and
on
the price
fluid,
of those tires.
the ticket, the price of the Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2s. Meanwhile, the drift boys are just grabbing anything that's black, circular, and looks like a
Could have
tire
drifted
to
the
throw
whole
on.
year after 3 of those events.
So you're not wrong. It's if you're talking value, right, an overall investment for amount of time spent on an event. I think they are comparable. I think they're more comparable than you think. The difference is with drifting, you get in for cheap and then you replace for cheap, but you do it more often. With track days, you need to have a car that's safe, and that when you do fix something, like I just bought new rotors for the M2.
$1,400.
Yeah.
See,
that
so
hurts.
yeah,
But
in this sense, I think drifting's cheaper.
You know what's cheaper to fix? An E46 M3.
Yeah, right. Sure. You want to know what's cheaper to fix? Gloria. All right.
Yeah.
So in all senses, I think what it really comes down to is no matter what type of motorsport you're looking to enjoy, there's a ton of different ways you can go out there. I think just by listening to us, if you've listened, you've heard Lars have good and bad experiences in different types of motorsport. You've heard me have good and bad experiences in different types of motorsport, and you've heard Dakota.
I've just had good experiences. So.
That's because Dakota's just good old Wisconsin boy.
Yeah,
But they're different, right? So just because you have one bad experience one time does not mean the entire situation is bad. We're gonna be taking a break. When we come back, we're gonna be talking about more car stuff. It would have been 5 years ago that I came to this barren wasteland known as Appleton, Wisconsin.
Why do you call it barren waste? I think
It had
Appleton's nice.
fantastic things that I never thought I would get to experience in a city because I came from Eau Claire. It had things like Panda Express, Qdoba, a mall that still had stores inside that stayed open. It was an incredible experience as I went to my first movie theater and realized that I could take the chair and I could kick it back. The popcorn was warm and the alcohol was cold. I didn't know you could get beer at a movie theater, and yet here I was experiencing the good life of Appleton, Wisconsin.
Podcast sponsored by Appleton, Wisconsin.
As we start the next podcast segment, I want us to think forward, if you will, half a decade, on where you think you're going to be in 5 years, maybe with your feet up at a nicer movie theater, maybe experiencing the new version of the Qdoba or the Panda Express.
Chipotle?
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I don't know, honestly. I don't know what I'm gonna do tomorrow.
See, that's what gives me anxiety.
I'm worried for you.
I have no idea what literally the next 40 seconds is gonna bring.
Sometimes I like to just check on Dakota on like a Sunday just to like make sure he's doing all right.
Did you have breakfast today?
Did I? No, I generally don't. Unfortunately, it's tough. I don't know, and I know some things maybe I'd want in the next 5 years.
Okay, well maybe we can start there and we can work our way back. What's one thing you want in the next 5 years? Great talk. Very inspirational.
Someone else
by
started
Dakota.
off.
Lars, in 5 years, what is one thing you would like to
car,
be doing or accomplishing?
Location.
So there are two fundamental events that have shaped what I want my future to be in the next 5 to 10 years. Here.
One was meeting me.
No.
I'm a pillar of this.
You've helped shape what I don't want to be.
Holy shit.
So actually, one of them was with you. We went to the Ron Fellows track in Pahrump, Nevada. There's some fun facts about Pahrump. You should Google them. I don't want to say them here.
Pahrump.
You know what I'm
Oh
talking about.
yeah. Pahrump got some business out there.
You should Google that.
There's people that go to the Speedway that spend time in Pahrump doing other things, if you know what I'm saying.
What the fuck?
They bumping something.
Huh.
All right, in Pahrump,
I'm
Nevada,
not going.
is a wonderful facility that I don't remember the name of, but there's a track. Do you remember the name of the track?
What, Ron Fellows?
No, that was a
Spring
school.
Mountain.
Spring Mountain Resort. That's the name.
I gotcha.
Thank you. Spring Mountain Resort hosts the Ron Fellows Corvette Driving School and Radical Motorsports. Which, if you don't know what Radical is, definitely look that up. Also, beautiful cars. And we went there for a Corvette driving school.
Yeah.
And when we got there, we stayed in apartments on the track. And apparently, what we learned there was that you can buy these. They're like condos, basically, where you have a garage, and then you just have like a living space above them. Mm-hmm. And what that taught me was that I want to live on a racetrack.
That would be super
That'd be kind of
sick.
cool.
That's
super
the first
sick.
one. I think it'd be baller. Just have
Is it expensive?
Yes.
Like, I'm assuming it's expensive,
Yes.
but like, can you live there full time? Because I know some of them. I talked to. We were at BMW driving school in California, and those ones, it was crazy. It has to be for the mega crazy rich, because their rules were so ridiculous. You couldn't spend the whole time there. You couldn't spend a whole day there. You couldn't sleep there. You could only do certain times and events. Could you stay at your own place that you own?
So this one, as far as I know, the living accommodations are yours. Like you buy that apartment or condo. The track time is somewhat restricted, but what they told us was like 27 days out of the month you can play around as much
Oh my
as you want.
god.
Yeah.
So, but no, as far as tax bracket goes, you're talking country club. Like these are the same people who buy, the whatever passes our golf courses,
Yeah.
PGA style. So like we're not talking cheap.
They got the credit card that you don't get in the mail, they just send you a box and it's got a card in it. It's like, hey, what limit does this have? And it's like, you just use it.
I think that's still the mail.
But we're also
Damn it.
we're also talking, second, third house. We're talking fourth, fifth car here. So like, it's definitely a certain tax bracket, but that's a fun goal that I have for myself, because I love the idea of, leaving Wisconsin in late October, let's say, flying to Nevada, and taking a rental car to the track, and then my Porsche is there waiting for me, or my Radical,
Damn.
right?
That'd
And
be
then in all winter, I just hang out in that area and drive to California if I want to, whatever. I think that's a fun goal. And then
That's an insane goal. I love it.
the other one is a cybersecurity conference I went to with the team from CrowdStrike and Amazon AWS. And we went to Indianapolis, and we had a conference on the first day, and then we stayed there Saturday, Sunday while GT World Challenge raced at the track. And the reason we had our event there was because one of the executives from AWS and the CEO of CrowdStrike are race drivers. And they operate, they technically lease or rent, they pay a race team to bring the cars to these events, and then they drive them. And that's just that's just part of what they do.
Damn.
So that one's a lot more expensive, but that's like the 10-year goal is I want to be able to be an actual race car driver, do endurance racing with my friends at, events maybe all over the world, if not all over the country.
Did you know Kelly Moss Road and Race will give you a team and everything you need to run an entire series, as long as you meet the credentials, you have your licensing and all that sort of stuff, for the low price.
Okay.
Very, very appropriate. You can throw it on a firm, maybe a PayPal paying for right around $720,000.
Who are these people fucking doing this?
People that have money.
It's called gentleman racing because they're not owners of well, they are owners of companies, but the point is they buy their way into this, and some of them are very successtive. The two individuals that I'm talking about, they're part of a pro-am team, and they've gone on to win Daytona. They won Spa. Like they've been very successful. So it's been fun to follow their journey after I got to meet them personally.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times when people hear money in racing, there's immediately like a bad taste in your mouth about it, and it's like, is the come up story better when you don't have money? Sure, absolutely. Is professional track racing hidden behind many paywalls? Yes, it 100% is. It's one of those sports where you cannot play professionally without a serious amount of income, unless you're doing something like I would also say though, overseas, I think there are a lot more affordable series that you can jump into that are easier to do, But with that being said, it's a little bit of money to get into that. Have you thought about your 5-year?
Could win the Gran Turismo race, and then Nissan will pay for you to race.
That'd be kind of cool, but no.
Do you think of that?
I don't know if I'm good enough for that. Those sim rides are crazy.
All right, $1 million it is.
That's what you want?
No, 5 years. Did you
Wow.
say? Damn, Lars got it on lock. He's really thinking.
I think about this a lot.
It's tough to say because in 5 years, the Super would be paid off. So I don't know if I would keep it or if I'd sell it before then and get into that next platform. I would absolutely love to hop into the G80 platform. I would have to get a used one, 100%, and that's still a big goal. But I fell in love with those cars. So like if there was a way, or if they brought the wagon to the United States.
Oh, I want that car.
I know, dude. I know.
That car's so bad.
I fucking love it. So maybe something like that. Otherwise, I'm torn on the other side. And these are just car-related 5-year goals because it's an automotive podcast. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we got life goals too.
Yeah, I was going to say, I probably want like a different house at that point and maybe a family. You know, maybe a bologna and cheese sandwich.
Can't race a house.
Because I got to eat in 5 years too, you know. But I really want a Volkswagen Harlequin. And every day I don't buy one, they go up in value. So it tears at me every morning when I wake up and I don't have one in my garage.
When he gets his daily email of average price of Harlequin from bringatrailer.com.
So yeah, I don't know. Maybe in 5 years I'll be driving something different. I'll be curious to look back at. But I hope I'm doing something still automotive, still making content. And I guess slinging parts with my buds.
Yeah, I think
that's the dream.
Yeah, I think the most realistic thing for me in the next 5 years is MartiniWorks turns into a thing that we're doing full time. We're passionate about. We're helping people mod their cars, and that is allowing us to do the things that we want to do. Because like for me in 5 years, just automotive focused. One of my biggest dreams is I want to win some sort of racing thing. I don't care what it is. I don't care how small it is. I don't care how big it is. I don't care what car I'm in. I don't care what class it is. I want to be able to experience a competition space of racing and being with the team and going through the process and grinding and learning and winning or not even winning, but making it onto the podium, I think would be like a really cool achievement. The only time I've ever felt like that was like when I was back in karate and I'd make it to, you win your class, you win your division, and then you go and you proceed to grand competition the next night. And it's like the butterflies you have, that feeling of like, holy crap, I'm here, the lights, that feeling I'm addicted to, for sure. Competition, I'm addicted to. So I think that's one thing I would really like to do in the next 5 years. And then in the next 5 years, I do want to achieve my dream of having a 993 or a 964. And I would really love for Becca to also have one. I've like
double Porsche up.
Becca really wants an RWB of some kind.
Whoa!
I really want a narrow body, clean sample. And so
slant nose.
I think it'd be cool. Like Becca and I, we have our family. We've got space for the cars, and we got our little one. And then I think every single time I imagine the house that I want in 5 to 10 years, it's just nice and modern, nothing massive, nothing huge and huge, equestrian. It's like built into nature, and I open the door to the garage door and I just imagine, like an olive green 911 SC or 912 or something like that. And it's like I imagine like this very calm and cooling future, and as silly as it sounds, I want that part of my life to be super peaceful so that I can go do things that are super competitive on the weekend.
Yeah, I think to maybe dial mine back into the more like that space, right? I think that a more simpler one would be, to have access to, like the M3 is a track car at this point, and I can go, if I'm not actually like competing somewhere yet, I have the chance to do like SCCA and stuff like that. I'm an instructor at this point. Hopefully, I'll have my race license. But then like on the weekends, like in summer in Wisconsin, like I think the coolest thing, like one of those like fun memories or things I want to achieve would be to have like a group of friends, like it's like, and we all just like grab our like GT3 RSs or something like that and like go for a cruise, and I say that because the come up stories already happened in the 8-9 years, Alex and I have known each other, the cars have shifted dramatically, and that's been really fun to be a part of. Life has changed a lot. So, and that's not been that long, right? So it's not totally unreasonable to say, we hop in the next generation of cars and just drive to Elkhart Lake for our cars and coffee. That's the peaceful version of that dream is just nice.
I love Elkhart Lake's cars and coffee.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
I think there's just
a beautiful area.
Yeah, I think there's just like a beautiful I guess, vision of where it is. And maybe it's not 5 years, maybe it's 10 years, but like it is the Saturday morning or like the Tuesday morning, text, hey, do you want to go grab coffee at some random, local coffee shop, and being like, yeah, I don't have any meetings until 2:00. And
I was about to say, you guys plan on retiring in 5 years
No,
or what?
no,
God
no.
damn, going and getting coffee.
But I think like if you guys are listening to this, like we work a shit ton, like a lot of hours to try and make this whole thing work. And so it's not a 9 to 5 for us. It is wake up, check emails, live, breathe, content, car stuff, figuring out what we need to do, answering a bajillion emails, getting a bajillion and 5 back in the same day, always feeling constantly behind, trying to balance out, work-life balance, having a family, having a wonderful lifestyle outside of that. And so it's not a calm lifestyle. It's definitely very chaotic, very fast. And as we've done it now, I've done it for 10 years. It's like the thought of getting to that point where maybe the Tuesdays aren't filled with 67 emails.
Sure.
Right.
Is something that I look forward to one day.
I think it's like the idea of, like cars are the escape. And right now cars are a part of the job, and they probably always will be, in a good world that's fun. But like being able to get in a car and just like dropping your shoulders and taking a deep breath and just enjoying the ride, right? And I totally agree with Alex. Like the right now, the last couple of years, the current year, next year are going to be insane, have been insane. So I think that's why we're just looking forward to being able to just breathe and enjoying it. So
yeah, choices are always fun, but we love it. I mean, we wouldn't be doing this if we didn't believe in it, and we'll grind as much as we have to make it possible, because at the end of the day, we started this because we believed in the community and what we wanted to do. And it's been a really fun time. So it's not without its really kick-ass rewards, which, by the way, if you're still here, thank you so much for watching and listening in. Dakota, is there anything else you want to add to your 5-year goal?
Yeah.
Wait, before you do.
Can we buy?
I have the most. No. I have the most.
I was about to fucking spit.
Yeah. I'm sure you're about to spit some facts. The biggest dream I have, I seriously have another big dream, and then I'm done, I promise. In the next 5 years, I really want a beard.
Oh, we got bad news for you.
You better start trying right now.
You should stop shaving every day.
My dad, every single time when I was like 18, be like, Papa, when am I supposed to get a beard? And be like, Mijo, I didn't have a beard until I was 23.
Oh wait.
And then I became 23, and I was like, Papa, when am I gonna actually have a beard? He'd be like, Mijo, when you're like 25. Mine came in at around 25. It's turned 25. I was like, Papa, when am I getting this beard? And he's like, Mijo, I hate to tell you this, but if you don't get it by now, you're not gonna get one. Thank you, Papa. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
That's what you interrupted me for?
Yeah. 100%.
I was just gonna say some
Great
stupid
story.
shit because I said
Dumber than that?
in 5 years I wanted a bologna and cheese sandwich, but in reality I could do that right now. So
Congrats.
I want to travel a bit, try some foods. I really like food.
You know what I want for you, Dakota?
God,
What's that?
I want you to be able to go to these events and meet people, because I see you light up whenever you like go to an event, and like the Gatlinburgs and stuff, when you get to like genuinely meet people and like shake their hand, take pictures with them and stuff.
It is. I cannot tell you how much of a surreal, and I'm not just saying this, obviously, how much of a surreal feeling it is to meet someone and they know who I am because of like the automotive content and stuff we've made. That is, to me, every single time, no matter how many people have done it, it doesn't make sense to me. It can't click in my brain. So it is like a supernatural moment of holy fuck, this is crazy. So I do get really pumped. I get really excited when I meet people, even if they think I'm jealous, because that's close enough.
I just think it'd be cool to get the group out to national events more often.
Yeah.
That's a different kind of paywall right now, right?
Yeah, you're 100% right. Yeah, getting to do like, because we look forward to Gatlinburg basically all year, and that's such a killer show for us.
It's so fun because we're all together.
Yeah,
it's kind of like what SEMA can be for us. Is like. SEMA at the end of the day is just a trade show. It's quite boring after like the first day. But what makes it fun is you're there with all the homies, and you're in the marketplace, you're in the trade show, you're talking to the people, you're doing the thing, you got the energy. That's what makes it fun. Like
when you're done talking business, you have a couple drinks.
Yeah, you go grab a drink, you figure out where you're going for dinner. You got 17 text messages to figure out where you're going to go to dinner because everybody wants to go get drinks. That part's the cool part. So with that being said, We appreciate you guys so much for watching and listening in. Thank you, Lars.
Yeah, thanks, Lars.
coming
for hopping on
by.
the pod.
Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
hopefully you see you again. And if you guys do see the name of Lars pop around over on MartiniWorks.com, this is the Lars. He's doing all the technology stuff.
Yeah, he's a smart dude.
The ones and zeros, if you will. So if you
wasn't
don't
supposed
see
to be
something
a
on the
face.
website and you want it on the website, say, hey, Lars, what the fuck, dude? Why don't you have this on the website, dude? That's him. He's
That's
the
what
guy.
we usually say.
Thank you guys so much for watching. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.